Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to... Let me see if I press play. Would it happen here? Let me see. No. Give me 1 second.
It's time
Yeah, I got it working.
for the 5th Annual Fake News Awards! Brought to you by Schwab & Sons Cock Rocket Emporium. In this yearly roundup of the worst examples of fake news in the corporate mockingbird media, we dishonor the dissemblers, lament the liars, and mortify the misleaders who have cheated, conned, and swindled the public into supporting their agenda of technocratic control. Featuring a special performance by the new smash hit pop supergroup Cabal. And now, from the palatial broadcast studios of the Corbett Report in Western Japan, it's the 5th Annual Fake News Awards, brought to you by Schwab & Sons Cock Rocket Emporium. Featuring your host for tonight's proceedings, Ben Crockman!
I have no idea what he's doing. I don't have my screen on.
Good evening. It's so nice of you to join us for these virtual festivities during these dark pandemic times. And while we've all been suffering so much over these last 2 years, perhaps none have suffered more so than those poor, beleaguered reporters trying to work from home and give you the weather, traffic, news updates from their living room, all the while dealing with their pesky cats, their frisky dogs, their uppity children, and of course, their wacky family members. Yes, they have had to deal with these lockdown times just like the rest of us, growing out their haggard wintered beards and dressing like bums and foregoing the trips to the barber, just like you and me, just like the little people, all the while delivering their new prepackaged news segments with that at-home authenticity that you've come to expect from the independent media, but with all the same lies that they've been telling for their corporate overlords the whole time. Yes, I think we should start tonight's award ceremony with a big round of balcony applause for those wonderful mockingbird media stooges who have fought their way through... Oh. Sorry, I'm just getting this in from my producer. Oh. Apparently we're not running with that propaganda anymore. Never mind. Whew. That's better. I don't know how you animals live like that. All right, where was I? Oh yes, the 5th Annual Fake News Awards, brought to you by Schwab & Sons Cock Rocket Emporium. And as you know by now, this is the annual award show where we dishonor the dissemblers of the mainstream media and bestow on them the dino of dishonor for their most egregious uses and abuses of fake news over the past year. So let's open up the bag from 2021, and it does seem that that bag gets ever fuller every single year with absolutely outrageous pieces of fake news that have been propounded on the public, and this year is certainly no exception to that general trend. So lots to get into today. Let's get straight into the first award. And the first award this year is for Fakest Photo or Video of the Year. And the runners-up are the photoshopped photo from Norwegian newspaper Sunnmorposten of a masked Olav Mested the chief medical officer of Ilsen, who was in fact maskless at the time. The video of Biden driving, quote unquote.
I have no idea what just happened. Maybe my Bluetooth went out? Let me see. I'm probably just buffering. I'm sure it'll come back on. How are we out there in these YouTube streets? Cell phone is ringing. Oh, my cell phone is ringing. It didn't even ring on my end. What's up with that? I heard nothing.
The fake videos of the Kabul evacuation, including a video of a man allegedly hanging out on the engine of a departing plane, although massive props to the Vietnamese graphic designer who originally posted the video, including a whole series of such fakes. Seriously, they're worth checking out. And the loser is... Rolling Stone for their piece, Gunshot Victims Left Waiting as Horse Dewormer Overdoses Overwhelm Oklahoma Hospitals, Doctor Says. A September 2021 article from the Rolling Stone magazine website that manages a rare triple play in the realm of fake news. Not only is all of the information presented in the story factually incorrect, and not only did they fail to correct that story when it was debunked, instead of opting for the lying update, even the picture they used to illustrate the article was itself fake news. That's right. Their tweet of this fake news story featured a photograph of gunshot victims waiting to get into an Oklahoma hospital overwhelmed by horse pace swilling ivermectin fiends? No. Why are they wearing full winter regalia in Oklahoma in September? No. Oh, that's because it's a photo of people waiting in line to receive the COVID-19 vaccine at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Oklahoma on Tuesday, January 26, 2021. Had nothing to do with the story, but boy, did it look scary, and boy, did that fake news story make the rounds. So it is truly a crazy article if you did not check it out at the time. It quotes a source that did not have knowledge of the hospitals in question, and which was immediately denied by the hospital itself and Oklahoma's Northeastern Hospital System Sequoia, when somebody bothered to actually check the claims, which of course RollingStone.com did not. But let's be fair, it wasn't just Rolling Stone. There were actually many media personalities and outlets that ran with this story, including, of course, Rachel Maddow, but others as well promoted and furthered the story. For more on the meat and potatoes of the story and how every part of it was wrong, you can check out a piece like "The Media Fell for a Viral Hoax About Ivermectin Overdoses Straining Rural Hospitals," which I'll include in the show notes for tonight's award show, because this is the only award show that has show notes. But yes, Rolling Stone, this well-deserved dino goes to you for your disgusting fakery. All right, moving right along to our second award of the evening for fakest politician or health official. And the runners-up are AOC for showing up maskless among a sea of masked servants in a tax the rich dress to the $35,000 a ticket Met Gala, a dress designed by a tax evader. Justin Trudeau for anti-vaxxers are racist misogynists. Donald Trump for claiming that the vaccines are his greatest achievement and getting booed for saying he got the booster and everyone else should too.
The vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind.
Did you get the booster?
Yes.
I got it too. Okay, so,
And the loser is...
All of them.
Tony Fauci for saying attacks on me are attacks on science.
It's very dangerous, Chuck, because a lot of what you're seeing as attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science. Because all of the things that I have spoken about consistently from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science. Sometimes those things were inconvenient truths for people, and there was pushback against me. So if you are trying to, get at me as a public health official and a scientist, you're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science.
I don't know what happened. Is my phone ringing again?
Real life? Did the face of the scamdemic, one of the leaders of the White House coronavirus task force, the second highest paid federal government official in all of the United States, just make that statement? Attacks on me are attacks on the science? This has to be a comic book parody of real life. I cannot believe that he actually said that. That is some genuine, straight up Palpatine level I am the Senate energy right there. That is ridiculous. It has to be a joke, because no scientist worth their salt, or anyone deeming to work in the name of science, would make a statement like that. Attacks on me are attacks on science, because that is in and of itself a blatantly, transparently, 100% anti-scientific statement in and of itself. Do I have to explain it again? Because I already explained it last year, actually. When I was debunking the article by Peter J. Hotez that was claiming that the growing anti-science movement was actually a global security threat on the level of terrorism and nuclear proliferation. And it gets worse. He goes on to say, anti-science is the rejection of mainstream scientific views and methods, or their replacement with unproven or deliberately misleading theories, often for nefarious and political gains. And if you read through that mealy-mouthed rhetoric there, you will see that he is suggesting that even someone who simply forwards an unproven theory that is not part of mainstream acceptable scientific consensus, as I suppose evidenced by the institutions that safeguard and gatekeep the scientific discourse, then you are part of this anti-science threat that needs to be dealt with as a terrorist extremist, or a threat on the scale of nuclear proliferation. So, of course, there's deliberately misleading theories that often for nefarious and political gains, but he is including in that anyone who forwards any sort of unproven theory. So, presumably, almost every scientist who has ever practiced in the field of science, who has at any point come up with a novel search result, a novel experimental result, could theoretically fall under this exceptionally large umbrella that Peter Hotez is putting over this subject. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind how broad a brush he is painting with there if you actually look through the rhetoric itself. But then he goes on to say, anti-science, targets prominent scientists and attempts to discredit them. Again, you have to. I cannot fathom how anyone who proclaims to be a scientist could write something like this with a straight face. So apparently, attempting to discredit something that another scientist is holding up as their truth, science says, is now an anti-science threat. But that is the very definition of the scientific process. That is, by definition, what scientists do. They are attempting to chart new territories, discredit or old ideas, forward unproven theories that can then be experimentally verified or falsified. That is the very essence of science. But apparently, no. There is an established body of consensus to which any challenge is a threat on the scale of terrorism and nuclear proliferation. Read what he is actually saying here. This is bone-chilling type of rhetoric. Yes, for the record, that was a clip, episode 398 of the Corbett Report podcast on Science Says, released early last year, that, yes, for the record, was the video that was posted to YouTube that resulted in my third strike and the removal of the main Corbett Report YouTube channel. How dare you question the scientists, who of course know the science, because it is science to not question, to literally not have the ability to question what the scientists are saying, right? That's the scientific method. Verily, attacks on Lord Emperor Fauci are attacks on science itself. Burn the witch! Is that Fauci's claim that everything that he has done throughout this scamdemic was based on the science is entirely, 100% transparently, not just wrong, but completely and absolutely opposite to reality. It's so disgustingly false a statement that I feel it barely even deserves to be refuted. But let's do it anyway. All right. So, what part of Fauci's response over the past couple of years should we pick apart? How about his response regarding remdesivir, of course, and the approval of remdesivir as part of the standard of care protocol for the dreaded scourge of COVID-19. Fauci green-lighted remdesivir following studies in which the controlled group did not receive a real placebo. Instead, Fauci's researchers used no placebo in the more severely ailing patients and gave the remaining patients an active comparator containing the same treatment protocol agents as used in the remdesivir arm, except for substituting sulfobutyl for remdesivir as the test agent. Utilization of so-called toxic or spiked placebos, also known as faucebos, is a fraudulent gimmick that Dr. Fauci and his drug researchers have pioneered over 40 years to conceal adverse side effects of toxic drugs for which they seek approval. Dr. Fauci eventually recruited 400 U.S. hospitalized volunteers for NIAID's remdesivir trials, but despite this faucebo chicanery, Dr. Fauci's researchers just couldn't get remdesivir to show any improvement in COVID survival. Despite its disappointing performance, Dr. Fauci worked hand-in-hand with Gilead's remdesivir team to guide the trial to a satisfactory outcome. So, Dr. Fauci's team decided to move the goalposts. The researchers, in fact, had changed the trial endpoints twice in an effort to create a meager appearance of benefit. Dr. Fauci's new endpoints allowed for the drug to demonstrate a benefit, not by improving the chances of surviving COVID, but by achieving shorter hospital stays. Yet this too was a scam, because it turned out that almost twice as many remdesivir subjects as placebo subjects had to be readmitted to the hospital after discharge, suggesting that Fauci's improved time to recovery was due, at least in part, to discharging remdesivir patients prematurely. Altering protocols in the middle of an ongoing study is an interference commonly known as scientific fraud or falsification. All right, there's plenty more. I could literally read this entire book to you, but hopefully you will read it for yourselves. The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., which documents in exhaustive detail, over thousands of footnotes, the completely anti-scientific procedures that have been employed to keep the scamdemic going and to keep The money going to Gilead Sciences and other BMGF-related groups and other things in which Fauci himself has an interest, and all of the other scientific fraud that's being perpetrated, of course, in the name of the injections. But we'll have more to say on that later, won't we? You'll excuse me if I get a little bit worked up about it, but this isn't just fake news in a humorous sense. This is fake news that is so disgusting and so ominous as to what it portends for the biosecurity state that we are being led into that it tends to make my blood pressure rise a little. So, on that note, why don't we do what award ceremonies often do? They take a moment to just celebrate the wonderful performance of music. Yes, we have a musical performance brought to you by corporate sponsor Pfizer from the new pop supergroup Cabal, performing live from Astroworld. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see this performance, brought to you by Pfizer.
This musical performance brought to you by Pfizer.
We know that the two doses of the vaccine offer very limited protection, if any.
Had to take a peek at what we were just looking at. It's very Illuminati.
Hail Pfizer. I don't know about all of you, but that performance makes me want to go and record my own song, singing the praises of Pfizer.
This girl is on Pfizer! This girl is on Pfizer! She's hopped up on Pfizer! This girl is on Pfizer!
Hiya, Pfizer.
Hi, Ben!
You got any extra shots?
Sure, Ben!
Sleeves up.
I'm a Pfizer girl in a COVID world. I'm the classic, mRNA-tastic, 95%. There's no argument, got no contagion with my vaccination.
Come on, Pfizer, let's go party.
With a last line,
Come on, Pfizer, let's go travel.
only essential.
Never look clean hands. Washing them. Let me hear it if you've had the Pfizer vaccine. Let me hear it from Moderna. AstraZeneca. Let's hear it from the anti-vaxxers.
The vaccine.
Vaccine, go get your vaccine, we make you sexy, don't be a wussy, go get it, please get it, go get your vaccine, we give you healthy, for working, that's out of
Pfizer. Hail Pfizer. Hail Pfizer. Whew. I needed that. Where am I? Who am I? Why am I wearing... What on earth? Oh, the Fake News Awards! Moving right along, let's get to the next Fake News Award of the evening, the award for the fakest fact check of the year. And the runners-up are PolitiFact for their pants-on-fire debunking of the laboratory origins of SARS-CoV-2, which they later had to update with a note to say that since the experts they relied on for their fact check had changed their mind, they were removing this fact check from our database pending a more thorough review. We're still waiting, Pointer. CTV News for no, COVID-19 vaccines do not violate the Nuremberg Code, which incorrectly states that the COVID vaccines are long past the experimental stage. And IFL Science, a website with a checkered history of stealing other people's work, for Fact Check. Will we be microchipped with vaccine passports? Which uses the very real story of how a Swedish company has developed a microchip that can showcase your vaccine passport status, is actually a public relations nightmare for scientists and a gift to anti-vaxxers, who are obviously still crazy even when they are demonstrably right. And the loser is... all of them. That's right. We can get this from Anthony Watts, who had this article up in December of 2021. Bombshell. In court filing, Facebook admits fact checks are nothing more than opinion. John Stossel is suing Facebook after Facebook's fact checkers labeled climate change information that Stossel posted as false and misleading. In the middle of all this is the nefarious website Climate Feedback, which has a bunch of climate zealots that write up what they claim are fact checks for articles, videos, and news stories they disagree with. Facebook just blew the fact check claim right out of the water in court. In its response to Stossel's defamation claim, Facebook responds on page 2, line 8 in the court document, downloaded below, that Facebook cannot be sued for defamation, which is making a false and harmful assertion, because its fact checks are mere statements of opinion rather than factual assertions. Opinion.
That sucks. Facebook cannot be sued because all their fact checking are just opinions. Okay.
Defamation claims, while false assertions of fact can be subject to defamation. The quote in Facebook's complaint is, "The labels themselves are neither false nor defamatory. To the contrary, they constitute protected opinion." So in a court of law, in a legal filing, Facebook admits that its fact checks are not really fact checks at all, but merely opinion assertions. That's right, folks. Always remember, fact checks are not statements of fact. They are opinions that are being funded by billionaires and promoted by big tech for the defense of their political and corporate chieftains.
Dang.
Word to the wise. All right, let's move. Oh, sorry. I almost forgot to bestow this dino of shame on, well, PolitiFact and many other fact checkers who were absolutely guilty of spreading their false opinions online in the name of fact checking over the past year. Moving right along to the next dino, we have the award for the fakest climate change story. And the runners-up are The Lancet for the 2021 report of The Lancet Countdown on Health and Climate Change, code red for a healthy future, which was immediately picked up and regurgitated by the lying corporate media despite the fact that its central assertion that rising temperatures are leading to rising death tolls is directly contradicted by the published research demonstrating that deaths caused by non-optimum temperatures are declining by tens of thousands of people each year. The Victoria Times columnist for BC doctor clinically diagnoses patient as suffering from climate change, in which they fall for the transparent publicity stunt of Dr. Kyle Merritt of Kootenay Lake Hospital in Nelson, BC, who clinically diagnosed a patient with diabetes and heart failure with climate change. Not only did the Times columnist reporter not seek any alternative viewpoint to Dr. Merritt's nonsensical non-diagnosis, it neglected to inform its readers of University of Washington meteorologist Cliff Mass's exhaustively documented work showing that the Great Northwest Heat Wave last summer was not climate change, but merely weather. Because, as we all know, weather is not climate, except when it suits the narrative. And the usual gaggle of climate hypocrites who flew their private jets to the COP26 conference in Scotland to lecture the little people about how they need to reduce their carbon footprint. And the loser is...
all of them.
The Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero for their scheme to get the world's population on board with the creation of a $130 trillion investment trough to be stewarded over by the organized crime syndicate of crooks, criminals, con artists, and eugenicists in international finance in the name of saving the Earth. Yes, as you will know from my extensive coverage of this topic late last year, the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero is a group of gangsters led by arch-globalist insiders like Mark Carney and Mike Bloomberg to steward over $130 trillion of commitments from the global corporatocracy for the creation of a new financial infrastructure predicated on the monopolization of the world's resources and the reduction of the Earth's natural abundance to the level of products and services to be sold back to you in the name of saving the Earth.
The Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero is essentially a grouping, a conglomeration of all of these big banks, asset managers, and asset owners, and they have come together with the shared goal of under the excuse really of net zero to create a new system of global financial governance. A whole new financial system is essentially how they describe it. It's led by Mark Carney, who you mentioned earlier, being the former head of the Bank of England, Bank of Canada. Now I guess he's the UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance, as well as a special advisor, I believe, to Boris Johnson of the UK for COP26, where GFANS made a big splash as well, but it was actually created earlier this year in April and was launched but not just by Mark Carney, but by Janet Yellen, Secretary of the Treasury of the U.S., and John Kerry. So
So I think more
enterprise. Also interesting is you have this guy named Nigel Topping in the leadership board. His title is High-Level Climate Action Champion, which is a really fun-sounding name. But he's important because he used to be the head of a group called We Mean Business that was climate focused. And if you're familiar with Cory Morningstar's work on Greta Thunberg and her series, The Manufacturing of Greta Thunberg for Consent, We Mean Business is one of the main groups that essentially created the Greta Thunberg figure for the manufactured climate change movement. So it's very interesting to see him there with his illustrious title, which is, hard not to laugh at, but I guess he takes it seriously at least.
Whitney, you can be our high-level independent truth champion. So there you go. I give you that title.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks. So in addition, so that's the leadership with Mike Bloomberg now, who's been added there. Can't remember if I mentioned that or not, but of course, billionaire Mike Bloomberg.
Now, as I hope you're already aware, that was a clip from my interview in November of last year with Whitney Webb of UnlimitedHangout.com on this issue, entitled Whitney Webb Exposes How Green Finance is Monopolizing the Planet, that I would wholeheartedly recommend you check out in its hour-long entirety. There's a lot of information presented in that conversation. I will also direct you to a couple of other reports that I did in 2021 along these lines that fill in some of the gaps and provide some of the context so you can better understand this incredible, world-shaking, international financial architecture changing shift that is going on right now in the name of this swindle. For example, I did a report in August of last year called Absolute Zero, the Global Agenda Revealed. And I did a report in November of last year called Welcome to the New Economy, both of which have dozens and dozens of links for further reading and further understanding of this incredibly important story, and increasingly important story as we move further and further towards the 2030 agenda. So this dino of dishonor, it goes to the G-Fans crew and everyone else who is helping to promote what they are doing in the name of saving Mother Earth. But of course that brings us to the moment that you have all been waiting for, the culmination of tonight's festivities, the bestowing of the greatest dishonor of them all, the fake news story of 2021. And I hold in my hands, ladies and gentlemen, the very festive looking celebratory envelope, Japanese style, that contains the 2021 fake news story of the year. So, without further ado, this thing's always difficult to get off, sorry. It'll take a while. Actually, alright, so a little further ado, of course, we haven't thanked tonight's corporate sponsor. So here's a word from the sponsor of the Fake News Awards, Schwab & Sons Cock Rocket Emporium. Being a supervillain is a lot of work. You spend most of your time on your plans for destroying the Earth, don't you?
Oh yeah.
But have you thought about what you're going to do after you implement the final solution? Let's face it, that underground bunker just isn't going to protect you from the nightmare you're about to unleash. Don't you wish you could just leave this planet behind after you flip the kill switch?
It'd be great.
Well, now you can! Presenting Schwab & Sons Cock Rocket Emporium. Here at Schwab & Sons, we handle the headache of designing, building, storing, and launching your phallus-shaped planetary escape vehicle, so you can get on with the hard work of destroying all life on the useless hunk of rock you formerly called home. Our sleek and suggestively shaped rockets will take you where you're going in style and comfort. But wait, there's more! Order now and we'll throw in a free Martian supervillain headquarters from our corporate partner SpaceX. Complete with food, water, air, henchmen, minions, a new Tesla, and everything else you'll need to begin populating, and then depopulating, the Red Planet. Schwab & Sons Cock Rocket Emporium, helping you reach the final frontier so you can destroy it too.
A lot of buffering. It helps when you pull over and take a second and do it. You know, the CorbettReport.com is it's an amazing website. He used to be on YouTube. That's how I found out about him. Right around the time when I first was waking up. You know, I was already woke, but now I saw things a little differently. So, all right. Awaking, awoke, whatever the hell you want to call it. But, you know, I'm still waking up. You know, I still got so much to learn. And I do know that whatever it is, I might never find out. But I still am not regretting being that kind of person who needs to know. Like if I can go back. Sometimes I think I would have been more successful had I not woken up back when I did wake up. And sometimes I think, yeah, I would have been more successful. But that's okay, because money is not everything. It's not about money. It's not about things. It's about family. It's about being honest. And it's also about finding your living your truth and finding what you're here for. Because for a long time, I had a lot and didn't recognize that I had a lot because I was too busy wanting more. And if you would look at me from the outside, you see a man with a business, 2 children, and a wife. You would say that this man he has it all. But I didn't think like that. Not in 2010, and not in 2012, and not in 2013 or 14. And my kids are now turning 5 and 3. It wasn't until 2015 that things changed. Something happened, and it was very gradual, and it led with a question. You know, it was a question that was asked of me, and then I thought about it, and I didn't quite have an answer for that. And then I did a little research, and then I started to open my mind a little bit. And it took a few years. But I'm here right now, and I'm happy. Regrets, I'll have a few. But then again, too few to mention. I've lived a life that's full. I've seen it through. You know the words. Ah, man. I think I'm gonna say goodbye. And we're gonna pick this up. I'm trying to reel LJ in. But what I love about her is what the resistance is. Because I love the fact that she's not on social media. I like that about her. So to bring her into social media, it's kind of like, dude, you should be happy. You should be happy. No, I just think that she would be a good, the woman is so smart. And even in her mistakes, she's so smart. She's cool, and then she stands her ground on the way she feels. That's really cool, man. You know, you don't want a person who's gonna just yes you forever. And trust me, if she would have been a yes person, then it probably would have never worked out. She's not a no person, but she's not just like some sort of like, I don't know, like I can't brainwash this person. You know, I remember when we first were going out, she was 19, I was 31 years old. I was a grown man, doing extremely well. I had a vehicle, and I had an apartment, and I lived alone, and had a bank account, a couple of credit cards. You know, I had money in the bank. I had no investments. I didn't even know what that was. I know the bank used to be like, I want you to come in and schedule something so we can sit down and talk about your future. And I used to look at their tie and their shoes and the car they drove and be like, I don't want any advice from this human being, from this person. So that was kind of sucked that I was so judgmental. I don't like to. I don't like that I was like that, but I'm only a person now. Let's not get it twisted. Boom. I don't want to be judgmental, but I am a person. A little dehydrated over here. See, I've seen a couple of things go on here. The hardest lesson I've learned in life is easy to climb the ladder, but success is very hard to climb back down. The lesson in life is easier to climb the ladder of success and very hard to climb back down. Very humble too. You're appreciated for that. You're a blessed and wonderful family. Thank you. Yeah, and I see it. You know, part of like waking up is not only being able to see the lies that they tell us on television and the lies that they tell us in movies and the predictive programming and all these lies that are coming from everywhere. It's great that you got family. It's like when you can see that, not only just the lies and the bull, you can see what greatness family is. I never thought I would experience that. I am, you know, I'm happy. I really am. There's some things I want to change, of course. But I wouldn't trade anyone's life for mine. No. Hell no. Would I do that? Would I even consider that? Changing the life that I have right here, right now for someone else's life. I can't even imagine who that person is. I don't know if it's always been like that. So, you see, we all growing, we all learning. We all trying to make it in this existence here, in this pond that we're in. If you're happy, then that's a success. This is true. And you know, I found happiness with the woman that I've been with for all these years. Many different times. You know, there's been drama, like, where, like, I just don't even want to, I don't even want to look over there. I don't even want to talk about anything. I don't even want to see this person's face. And then, you know, 2 days go by. A day goes by. And you kind of just like, you know, you realize, let me chill out. No big deal. We'll make it work. And, you know, that happens in a 15, 16 year, 17 year relationship, you know, but I wouldn't change for any, I mean, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. So, listen to James Corbett. The guy is like, He'll help wake you up with just nothing but facts. Because if you look at what he's putting out there, it's not opinionated. This is the first time in a long time where you really don't really hear him get upset and just talk about how demonstratively upset he is. And how, and he'll say, oh no, that's Days of Noah. Days of Noah goes, this really infuriates me right now. It really does. Like, this guy's like so nice and so calm. And he's this really infuriates me. So James Corbett is a little more louder than that, not as calm as Days of Noah. But James Corbett is just bringing you facts. He's using, like if, let's say, this was some sort of this construct we're in, this reality. If this is some sort of game, possibly this is a game to some degree, like some sort of script. And like human beings they're like pawns. That's why I think you have to sign up for war. Because it has to be like of your own free. You have to make it, you have to agree to certain things. Even though there was all this talk about how, there's always people that get put. Okay, so if, let's say, you get pushed into a war situation that you don't want to be part of, right? You probably make it to if this is like some sort of game, you make it to the next level, checkpoint, and you go, you still drive, checkpoint. So if you get forced, like if, let's say, they force you to, if they force you to take the jab, boom, you're probably going to be okay because it was the forcing of that. So whatever happens to you, whatever happens to you, if there's something else, you upgrade it. Even though you're probably not going to remember or know anything, you're just going to be born into this upgradation. So you, the person that's here right now, you're not going to know it, but it's that 350 grams that's gonna make it to the next level. You see, that 350 grams is possibly what some people might call like a soul. You might have this soul, and scientists have weighed the human body after the person is dead. 350 grams, 400 grams out of here. So there's some sort of energy, life force to a human being, and this is some sort of like meat suit. And this meat suit that we're running around in, and I got that meat suit analogy from Quantum of Conscience. This guy, his name is Matt. And Matt from Quantum of Conscience, he talks about the meat suit. And it's like, we have these 350 to 400 grams that goes somewhere. So if we're living this life here, we're too worried about the meat suit instead of doing the right thing, instead of standing up for yourself. What, you want to live forever? You want to live forever? You're already living forever, possibly. You're possibly living forever, and these 400 grams that's in you, it's relying on you to do the right thing, to stand up, to live out your true existence so that it can level up. Checkpoint. Checkpoint. I always think about that, that game Outrun. That's when I was a kid. I used to play this game at the corner store named, it was called Outrun. I always wanted to drive. I always loved to drive, even as a kid. You see this? I don't know if you can see that, but that's a scar right there that I got at that corner store. Sliced my finger terribly. I was 13 years old. And just telling that story, I can just tap back into that memory. So I just did. I literally tapped into a memory from when I was 14 years old. I'm a 48-year-old man. And I was able to not feel the pain, but I can feel it now. I haven't even felt that scar. I don't even remember the last time I've done this. but I can feel that. I remember that. So all this stuff that we're dealing with, all these different, like it's like some sort of amazing computer, this brain of ours. But these are just experiences that happen throughout our lives. And if you're not living in your truth, kind of like not living in your present and being honest and true to the people you love and honest and true to yourself, it's like if you can be true to yourself, if you can be honest, and you stand fearlessly, not afraid, because the fears possibly was feeding the system. This system is gobbling up that fear, yo. It's some sort of commodity in this reality. Don't get it twisted. So maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Why did I stop here? Oh, because I was trying to get back online. It felt like I was buffering, and when I switched over from the James Corbett report, it was a lot of drama. Oh man. So possibly this reality that we're in has these different checkpoints, these different levels. And if you're forced to go into some sort of war, you will level up. Whereas if you agree to the game, like if you get, like it's like 3-card, you got the 3-card Monty, and you're playing the 3-card Monty back, and it's going back, 3-card Monty or Molly? 3-card Molly or Monty? 3-card Molly. Let's just say 3-card Molly. We all know what I'm talking about. So the thing is going back and forth, and they got the ace. There's another guy in the background who, as soon as the guy who's going back and forth tells somebody, hey, don't mess with that over there, that's mine, he then folds the ace, and the guy comes back and he's doing this and that. You're thinking, I now know where the ace is at. But they probably had a card right here, and they drop that card, and the hand is quicker than the eye. So you gamble, and you put your money on it, and he tells you, he says, you sure? And you're like, yeah, that's the one right there. That's the card. I know for a fact. I saw that's the card. And they start doing it real slow, like boom, 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 boom. In your brain, you just feel like, whoa, I know where it's at. And you don't. And you were tricked. But you agreed. You agreed to play the game by passing him that money. There's some sort of rules here where if you agreeing to this stuff, then it's like the license. If you don't get a license from the motor vehicle and you're driving around and the cop pull you over and say, listen, let me get your license and registration. We're like, no, I don't have a license. I just got the registration and insurance. You know, the car is fully insured. Or maybe there's no registration if you're following certain kind of rules. But let's say the car is registered, insured, and you have it under, let's say you're rich and you have it underneath your fleet. You know, you're doing you have like 7 cars. You know, your father left you a bunch of cars. So now you got all these cars, and you're not a licensed person. You never agreed to the license. By signing that paperwork, they can go, well, you can't do that because you agreed to the terms of the conditions. So all these little things that they trick you, where had you been like 18 years old and you're like, nah, I'm not going to get a license. It's better than you getting the license, signing that piece of paper, and then later on in life saying, yo, this is a private business. I don't want to follow the rules. That you kind of signed it already. So it's a lot. I'm bringing a lot of craziness into this. I understand, but my point is that if they get you, hold you down, jab you up, you're gonna still level up possibly. Whereas if you agree to it, you got all those consequences that when the meat suit can't handle it, wherever that 400 grams goes might not be the good place. You might wake up with a fly in your face. You might wake up with, respectfully, Asperger's or something. Who knows? The next time you come back ain't gonna be popping for you. You're gonna be part of the middle, not even middle class. You're gonna be part of what's the word? The bottom. So whatever the proverbial bottom is, that's what you will be. So, just something to consider, something to think about. I think about these things. I think about the next level, the checkpoint, and whether or not we should be so afraid of this meat suit that we're in. I don't think we should be that afraid, because yes, this possibly, you have your family and your friends, everybody's going to be sad and oh my God, this person, whatever the case is. But if you stood up for yourself, like let's say, all right, check this out. Let's say there was a campaign, and this campaign was for the 400 grams. So now everybody's walking around with the t-shirt, I support the 400 grams. Doc, 400 grams, hashtag 400 grams. So everybody's hashtagging 400 grams, and you're now pushing an ideology. Like, let's say if I was a billionaire, right? I could probably do that. If I was a billionaire, I could, not even if I was a billionaire, but let's just say, you're one of these people that want to promote an agenda. So what if I wanted to promote the agenda that this 400 grams is your soul to some degree? It's your life force, your energy. My hat keeps popping. It does not. So, you just got to bear with me. This part, I don't know. Kind of like it like this. But then I feel like. So they start a campaign, and the campaign is for the 400 grams. We're going to do a whole campaign on the 400 grams. We're going to spend 150,000 street team. We're going to license this off to tons of people, like tons of, different influencers or whatever have you, YouTube influencers, people are going to be wearing the 400 gram t-shirt. And what you're going to do is you're going to put into the mind that 400 grams is your soul. And do you want your soul to make it to the next checkpoint in a positive way, instead of degrading itself back down? Something that I think it's definitely something we let me see if anyone is saying anything. What was like said here? Texas. Yeah, there's a lot going on over there, Steve. I know we're using the word checkpoints as a reference, but should you be on the southern border, it looks like Nazi Germany. Oh, okay, yeah, when I use a reference for checkpoints, yeah. And now you look down the southern border, it looks like Nazi Germany. Yeah, let me see your papers and all that. And it takes just the people. The people got to stand up and say, nah, we're not giving you any papers. Nah, no, we're not doing that. No, thank you. I don't consent. I remember Richie from Boston. He had that whole hashtag, I don't consent. I do not consent. So, if you don't consent, those 400 grams is going to be popping wherever they're going. And what, you want to live forever? You want to live forever in that meat suit? You can't live forever in that meat suit. So what you going to do? Get along? Go along to get along? Come on. You're going along to get along. And then you're going to be 80 talking about, we got to fight back. What? Where were you when you was 30 and 40 when we needed you? Now you're 89 years old talking shit on the internet. I don't know. Hashtag 400 grams. And you know what's crazy is that if you were to promote this hashtagging of the 400 grams, people would promote it in a drug sense. They would there'd be young kids walking around with a 400 gram t-shirt thinking they're representing some sort of drug. There'll be rap songs about, moving 400 grams across the state line. There'll be people in my comment section saying you shouldn't use the word gram so much. The algorithm is going to catch you. See? Like I tell everybody, would you want to live forever in that meat suit? Are you kidding me? Teach your kids as much as you got to teach them. Leave them videos, but don't raise them to be afraid and to be scared that this meat suit is all there is. There's 400 grams to think about. Why are you not thinking about your 400 grams? I'm kind of making a joke with my voice a little bit like now, but it's hilarious, but kind of interesting to consider. I think so. I've been here long enough. Thank you for watching this small YouTube channel about a guy who's a personal chef for people with way too much money. That's a fact. I don't really say that too often because, I never know who's one of those few people watching. I don't want anybody to think I'm not thankful to any of my clients. I am very thankful to my clients. The opportunity to cook amazing meals for them and their families allows me to be closer with my family. So I'm really happy about that. You are appreciated. And always remember the few things. Love you. It's true.